14,200 kilometers in just over 30 days.
That's like cycling from, say, London to Paris every single day for a month. Just incredible.
G'day everyone, I'm in Port Macquarie, Australia, getting ready for my next big ride, which will be an attempt to ride all the way around Australia counterclockwise. Bye-bye. It's 14,200 kilometers. It's a really long way.
All right, so ready to dive into some ultra-endurance cycling?
Always up for that.
We're talking Lachlan Morton.
Just obliterated that Aussie record, didn't he?
Obliterated doesn't even cover it. Over a week faster, can you imagine?
Well, it's tough to wrap your head around.
Like, picture cycling from New York City to LA every 3 days for a whole month. Bonkers.
It's really remarkable on so many levels, isn't it? You've
Yeah.
got the physical endurance, obviously, which is just off the charts on its own, but then layer on the planning involved, the sheer logistics, not to mention the mental toughness to just keep going when boredom or discomfort sets in. It's a whole other category.
And this wasn't a Sunday spin on a bike path either. In scorching heat, headwinds that felt like walls, even having to bunny hop over a kangaroo at one point.
Right, exactly. The unpredictability is a huge factor. That's what makes these feats so different from a standard race. You just can't control everything. Weather, terrain, it's all changing constantly. So that adaptability, that on-the-fly problem solving becomes just as important as raw endurance, wouldn't you say?
Totally. The ultimate real-world test, kind of. But here's the thing I find fascinating. This is a former World Tour pro, right? So we're talking the highest level of the sport, teams, structure, the whole 9 yards. What do you make of that? It's a whole different mindset, right?
It is intriguing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Speaks to a different source of motivation altogether. Okay. Pro racing, you're driven by external factors, sponsors, competition, the pressure to win. But these solo endeavors, it has to come from within. That drive has to be deeply personal. For some people, like Morton, that seems to be even more fulfilling.
So pushing your own limits, not just physically, but mentally, finding that deeper purpose.
Absolutely.
And when we're talking limits, I mean, the sheer scale of this is hard to comprehend. Roughly 8,830 miles, or nearly 14,200 kilometers in just over 30 days.
Averaging an astounding 279 miles a day. Let that sink in for a moment. That's like cycling from, say, London to Paris every single day for a month. Just incredible.
It boggles the mind. And it's not just blindly churning out the miles either. To maintain that pace for that long requires another level of strategic planning. It's like a perfectly tuned machine, you know what I mean?
Precisely. It's the optimization of every single detail. Nutrition, sleep, equipment, pacing strategy, and of course, the mental fortitude to execute it all flawlessly day after day.
It's remarkable, honestly. And then on top of all that, he uses this ride to raise a bunch of money for the Indigenous Literacy Foundation in Australia, which just adds another layer to the whole thing.
Absolutely. It's incredibly inspiring to see. He's not just pushing personal boundaries out there, he's leveraging these incredible feats to give back, raise awareness for a cause he believes in, make a tangible difference.
And it's a fantastic cause. Providing books, learning resources to kids in some of the most remote parts of Australia. It really adds a whole other dimension, doesn't it? To take something already so challenging and use it as a platform for something bigger than himself.
I think that's what resonates with people when you say it's not just about the record itself, it's that he's using his platform for good.
And you know, this isn't even his first rodeo, right? Didn't he do something like this before, but with the Tour de France?
You're talking about the old tour.
Yeah, that's the one.
Back in 2021, he rode the entire Tour de France route solo.
The entire route. So wait, he was competing against the actual Tour de France?
Not exactly competing, more like
Great.
replicating, but with a twist. He actually rode more than the Tour de France peloton.
How is that even possible? Don't they ride hundreds of miles a day as it is?
They do, but they also get bussed between some of the stages, for logistics mainly.
Yeah.
It'd be too much to ride every single mile and still race at that level.
So Morton actually rode further than the pros, by himself. Talk about going the extra mile, literally.
Well, it's very much in line with his philosophy, wouldn't you say? Pushing the boundaries, redefining what's possible. And, you know, it takes a special kind of resilience to undertake these kinds of challenges, that self-sufficiency. It's not the same as being in a team with all that support. It's you against, well, everything.
And he beat them to Paris, didn't he?
He did indeed. Arrived in Paris a day ahead of the peloton, if memory serves.
Wow, just wow. Okay, so we're talking about a guy who's not just physically incredible, but mentally in a whole other league. And he's passionate about giving back, using these challenges for something bigger than himself, like we were talking about with the Indigenous Literacy Foundation. Didn't he also make a documentary with his brother a while back? Something about thereabouts?
Yeah, thereabouts is pretty cool, actually. They cycled from Port Macquarie to Uluru, which is no small feat in itself.
Right, that's a pretty significant trek across Australia.
It's beautifully filmed, but it's more than just a travelogue. It delves into their relationship with cycling, with Australia, with each other even. There's a lot going on beneath the surface.
There's a theme emerging here, isn't there? It's like this constant exploration. Physical limits, sure, but also something deeper.
I see it, definitely. That desire to connect, to push beyond the comfortable, whether it's geographically, emotionally, or even spiritually, in a way.
He makes you want to get out there and do something epic,
Yeah.
Find your own adventure. But it's easy to get caught up in the elite athlete aspect of it all. But what sticks with me about Lachlan Morton, it's not just the physical strength, it's that mental toughness, that self-belief, and that commitment to something bigger than himself. It really shines through.
Absolutely. That's where the true inspiration lies, I think. It reminds us that we all have that potential for greatness within us, even if it doesn't involve cycling thousands of miles.
Right, exactly.
It's about tapping into what drives you, finding your own personal Everest, and having the guts to actually go for it, one step at a time.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's safe to say Lachlan Morton's ride around Australia, it was more than just an athletic achievement. It's a testament to the human spirit, what we can accomplish when we push beyond those limits we set for ourselves. And a good reminder that even in the face of huge challenges, there's always room for compassion, for kindness, for using your platform to make a difference.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Perhaps that's the most important takeaway of all.